Often called by Milwaukee's trademark name, SawZalls of all sizes have made the transition into cordless, but these saws still dominate the corded tool market. We split the entire corded lineup into 3 distinct subgroups: 10 to 12 amp, 13 amp, and 14 to 15 amp. Reciprocating saws with 10 to 12 amp motors are high on value and trade off performance for a lighter design. 13 amp reciprocating saws sit in a gap between light and heavy duty models. They're distinctly more powerful and heavier than their 10 to 12 amp counterparts, but they drop a lot of weight compared to 14 and 15 amp tools. Now that 14 and 15 amp group, that's where the heavyweights duke it out. It may be tempting to think that these saws are raw muscle, but they're a lot more than that. We see the best vibration control and features in these saws, often making them the best choice overall. We designed 4 separate tests for each corded reciprocating saw to prove its worth. However, not every class is suited for the toughest tests, like our roofing sandwich, so we exempted all but the 15 amp models from that exercise. The nail-embedded wood test is our baseline for every reciprocating saw we test. We timed how long it takes to cut through 2x10 pressure-treated pine embedded with 5 16D galvanized nails. We strap a 5-pound weight to each saw to ensure we apply an equal amount of downforce. For the 12 amp recip saws, Metabo HPT runs away from the pack in the nail-embedded wood test. It's the only saw to break 20 seconds in this class, and it finished with an average of 12.86 seconds. Moving up to the 13 amp class, Milwaukee gets off to a great start, walking away with a big win over its 13 amp competitors. Finally, SkillSaw's Buzzkill comes away as the only model to break a 6-second average among the 15 amp saws. In fact, it's the fastest model we tested, corded or cordless. To test cutting speed in metal, we take the average time it takes to cut through 2-inch EMT. Like the wood cutting test, we use a 5-pound weight for equal downforce. Though it came in dead last for wood cutting, the 12 amp Milwaukee saw bounced back to the top in 2-inch EMT cutting with a 6.36 second average. Cobalt's 13 amp saw really starts to show off its metal-friendly design in 2-inch EMT. Its 1.25 second advantage over the Milwaukee is pretty significant. SkillSaw maintains its first place ranking in the 15 amp 2-inch EMT test, although Milwaukee's Super SawZall tried to close the gap, with both saws flying through our cuts. For testing how quickly these saws cut through thicker metal, we grab some 5/8-inch No. 5 rebar and record how long it takes to complete a cut, once again using a 5-pound weight to apply equal downforce. For the 12 amp group, Makita continues to exert its metal cutting prowess in rebar as it takes the top spot for thick metal cutting. Bosch makes a go of it as well, joining Makita as the only 2 saws to finish under 10 seconds in this test. Now when it comes to the 13 amp class, the key takeaway is that Milwaukee's design is optimized for wood cutting and Cobalt cuts faster in metal. If you're primarily cutting one or the other, that's a valuable nugget of information to keep in mind. SkillSaw continues to impress in the 15 amp class, this time with a dominating performance. It's nearly 2 seconds faster than anyone else in the 15 amp class. Only the toughest 15 amp saws compete in our toughest test. With a sandwich of 2x10 PT, flashing, tar paper, asphalt shingles, and 5 16D galvanized nails, we calculated the average time it takes for the 15 amp saws to cut through it all. SkillSaw takes the win once again, with Milwaukee less than a half second behind. From there, it's a decent gap to Makita in third, and Bosch comes in at a distant fourth. With all of our testing materials readily available, we sent 3 trusted testers out to cut to their heart's content. Each of them then ranked each corded saw on a 1 to 4 scale. Once we had all the results, we tallied them up and averaged them out. For the big boys, the 15 amp top spot was chosen unanimously among our testers. And surprisingly, it didn't go to Skill's buzzsaw design. This one goes to Makita with its AVT technology. However, SkillSaw redeemed itself in a big way with the vibration control win in the 13 amp class. It was a tight race with Milwaukee though. Finally, Makita walks away with its second win for vibration control in the 12 amp class. That makes them 2 for 2 in the corded classes. Makes you wonder what would happen if they made a 13 amp saw. Generally speaking, corded tools don't have as many bells and whistles as their cordless counterparts, but there are still some important design features to consider. Orbital action, variable speed dial, pivoting tool-free adjustable shoe, rafter hook and belt hook, and finally, LED light. Now we'll take a moment to share some additional features and design notes that we found unique to the models we tested. A few saws have more than just orbital on and off. Makita gives you 3 different orbital levels to work with to match the material you're cutting. Milwaukee takes orbital action levels even further. As you slide the switch from off to on, there are 8 unique stops along the way. When you're using a tool that's as aggressive as a reciprocating saw, the vibration and weight work against you as the day goes on. Picking the best recip saw for you might include some strong consideration of just how much weight you want to hold. Bosch and Milwaukee tie as the lightest saws in the 15 amp class. They're nearly a pound lighter than Makita, while Skillsaw is clearly the beefiest of the group. Now taking a look at length, Bosch has a slight lead over Makita and a full inch advantage over Milwaukee. Skillsaw again is out on its own as the largest model. In the 13 amp division, Milwaukee once again takes the lightweight crown and doesn't have to share it this time. Skillsaw is close though, while Cobalt adds another 1.5 pounds. Cobalt somewhat makes up for its weight by being the shortest saw at 19.8 inches. Milwaukee is just behind the curve, being a 1/10 inch longer, and Skillsaw's 13 amp buzzkill has the same length as its bigger 15 amp brother. You won't find a lighter corded recip saw in the 12 amp class than Rigid. In fact, you won't find another model in the class under 7 pounds. DeWalt pairs its reasonable weight with the shortest design in this class at 17.5 inches. Makita is the only other model to measure less than 18 inches. We take many things into consideration when we calculate value. It's more than just price. It's what you get for what you pay. Even though it doesn't have the lowest price, Skillsaw's 15 amp buzzkill reciprocating saw has the best value of the 15 amp saws we tested. Its first place cutting speed and mid-range pricing make for an outstanding value. Skillsaw earns the top value in the 13 amp class as well. This time, it's the least expensive saw in the class and has a high enough performance in each category to overcome a strong charge by Cobalt. There are several excellent values in the 12 amp class led by Metabo HPT and Ryobi. Rigid is no slouch with a value rating of 87, and Makita does really well, just a point behind. After hours and hours of testing, cutting, and running the numbers, we've come to our final results. Without further ado, here are your best corded reciprocating saws. Congratulations to Skillsaw, Cobalt, and Metabo HPT on being named Pro Tool Review's Best Corded Reciprocating Saw in the 15, 13, and 12 amp classes respectively. Did your favorite saw make the cut? Let us know in the comments below, and be on the lookout for new tool reviews and head-to-heads here at Pro Tool Reviews. After you subscribe to our channel, click on that bell icon below the video to get a notification when we post a new tool review or head-to-head video. As always, thanks for watching.